the goal here is first of all to develop study skills that are going to allow you to get the best A levels possible. But second of all, also try and save you as much time as possible, if that makes sense. So the more efficient you are with your studying, the more time you're going to have, first of all, more free time so you can actually enjoy yourself during this process, but also more time you're going to have to put towards other things like supercurriculars, towards your admissions exams, towards interviews, things like that. And this is a very competitive process if you're trying to go for Oxford or Cambridge. So the more efficient you are with your studying, the higher of a leg up you will have on your peers, right? Now, again, a lot of you are going to be coming from different backgrounds. So some people, maybe you're just moving into year 12, but you've got straight 9s in your GCSEs and you're quite confident in your study skills and you know what needs to be done to get 3A stars, for example. Maybe some of you have only got 7s and 6s, for example, which is alright, but there's definitely a big gap there that you can fill. And if you use the same study skills again for your A levels, you may not be able to get the minimum of A star AA, which is what most degrees are looking for, right? So this is going to be very useful for you. And what we're looking at here is there's lots of new techniques that you can start to implement that you ideally want to learn now, because not only are they going to help you in your year 13 when you get to your actual A levels, but they're going to give you a massive benefit when you actually get into Cambridge or Oxford. And again, it's going to allow you to study a lot more efficiently on those degrees. Okay, so again, this is just an introductory video. I want to introduce you to the concepts, right? And I'm not sure if any of you will know this person, but this is a really good source of information. This person is called Justin Sung. He has a YouTube channel, and this is just one of his videos, right? So he went through medical school as well. So he's been through very intensive courses, and he developed his studying system while he was going through medical school. So he is a doctor. He sort of quit that to go towards learning science and teaching people in terms of that. And he's done a lot of research and studying, basically looking at how does the brain best learn new information. Okay, and there's lots of depth to this. So I'm obviously going to try and teach as much as I can to the best of my ability, but he's also a very good source of information. So definitely look up his YouTube channel and subscribe to him. Watch some of his videos. This one is very important in my opinion. So this is he's a working professional, right? He's working full time, but he decides to go for a master's. As you know, a master's is very difficult. It's very time consuming. And he's able to complete that in 1/6 the time, so I believe he spends 90 hours maximum on this course, and he gets the highest grade possible. I think like the top 2 grades in the entire university's history or something like that, so he gets some award for it, right? Obviously he's a lot older than you, he's an adult, and he's been doing this for a long time, but there's just some proof that if you are actually efficient with your studying methods, and it's not just about doing loads of flashcards and doing loads of practice questions, there's lots of depth to this, and if you learn all of these skills, then you can become very efficient and you can spend very little time at studying and do really well. Now again, this takes a lot of time and we're going to go into this, so I'm not going to tell you that you're going to be able to study a minimal amount and get 3A stars if you're just learning how to do this. But I definitely want you to start implementing this on your journey, okay? And another example I'll give you from my own experience as well. I did this as well when I was going for my A-levels a few years back. Now, again, I'm nowhere near a perfect studier, but I only spent, it was around, I pretty much spent just 3 months for my A-level. I didn't go to my classes and things like that. I wasn't the best student, but I only spent 3 months, and I didn't do anything more than 1 to 2 hours a day, and I was able to get 3 A's across my A-levels of biology and chemistry and computer science, right? And then the same thing when I'm in medical school. If you're looking at my first year of medical school, for example, I spent a total of I believe it was 200 hours. Sorry, that's including lectures. I didn't go to any lectures. Again, I'm not the best student to model after, but This is a total of 200 hours in university, and I passed the first year of medical school. So medical school only has a pass or a fail, right? There's no scoring or anything like that. You either meet the standards or you don't, right? And this is a lot less, and I can tell you for a fact that this is a lot less than a lot of other students. So students that were studying 6 to 8 hours a day, right? And this is, if you range that out over the year, that's less than 6 hours a week, and that's including lectures, right? I actually had more hours of lectures scheduled in than the amount of hours I actually spent in this course, right? So definitely, if you do this well, you can definitely improve, and you can become a very efficient studier. Okay, I wanted to just introduce you to this concept so you understand that there are levels to being able to study, and then we can go over that. Okay, so just to start off with, we're just going to be talking about some basic details. Okay, before we look into improving our study skills, we need to be consistent, and we need to have the basics down, the fundamentals. Okay, and again, it will depend on how good you are at studying already, what scores you got at GCSEs, what predicted grades you might have already. You might be completely fine with this, maybe you can skip it. So the first thing that we want to talk about is urgency trapping. Okay, so this is when you've got homework due, for example, or you've got a mock exam coming up, or you've got something coming up that is urgent in school. Let's say you've got homework coming up that you have to submit in 1 week, right? And you're still a bit behind on the topics, you don't really understand the topics that well, and there's lots of work that you can do in other areas, but you're spending your time working on something that seems to be urgent to you, right? Now, you don't want to get stuck in this too often, and obviously procrastination is gonna push you towards this. But if there is something that is urgent, remember that the actual end goal is your predicted grades at A-levels, so your year 12 scores, or your actual year 13 real A-levels, right? Wherever you are in the stage of learning here, your end goal is to actually get the best grades possible, which is probably a good few months away, right? And you should be working towards these things. You shouldn't be keeping or being heavily focused on an urgent homework piece or something like that is coming up. And that's not to say to leave your homework and not do it. Definitely do it, but always prioritize the bigger picture, which is getting the grades that you need. Okay, and again, this is something that I had to do back when I was in sixth form, and I would always be focusing on the bigger picture, focusing on making sure that I'm working on the areas that I need to be aiming towards this, okay, towards the best grades possible, and sort of doing what I can with any homeworks or tasks that are due for school. Okay, so initially I want you to be careful of this, and the other thing that you're going to need to be really strong with is procrastination and consistency, basically, right? So again, if you got good grades at A-levels, you will know that you had to be very consistent. Oh, sorry, at GCSEs, you'll know that you had to be very consistent. And if you've read a book called Atomic Habits, or if you've heard of it probably before, you'll know that consistency always just comes down to the habits and the systems that you have in place. Okay, so if you have a habit of sitting down every single day for a certain period of time to work towards your goal, which is your predicted grades or your A-levels, and that habit is to always sit down at set time to do this, to work through it, then you're going to continuously do that. And it's not something that you want to be motivated for. Okay, motivation comes and goes. Okay, motivation dips. So you might feel motivated to study, and then you will lose that. And if you're relying on that, you're gonna struggle. Okay, so you have to build out a habit of studying. Okay, and if you're struggling and this seems really boring to you, and you're like, why I don't want to have a habit to study, you have to do a bit of work on that. Make sure you're thinking about predicted grades, the A levels, the real goal that you have in mind, which is to get into Oxford or Cambridge for that uni, for that degree, and why you want to do it, right, and how important it is to you. And if it's really important, you will set aside some time every day to be doing something, okay? And even if you're just starting the course, you can always be doing something, and I'll show you what you can be doing later down the line, okay? But the phrase in this book is you fall to the level of your systems, right? So you have to have a system in place that makes it something you don't have to think about, and you're going to go down, you're going to sit down, and you're going to study for a certain amount of time. I never struggled with this when I was at sixth form, because again, to me, it was just like I am behind, or I was behind in my studying. So I was like, okay, I am going to sit down for 2 hours every single day, or up to 2 hours, between 1 and 2 hours every single day, and that's all I'm going to put forward to this goal of A levels. And if I'm able to do that, I'm going to be happy. So every single day I would sit down and I would have my timer on, or my stopwatch on, to see how long it's been, and whenever I get to 1 to 2 hours of studying, I'll be happy and I'll go and do whatever I need to do. And if you're able to put that into place, that's going to be a massive help, okay? Again, when you're just starting out, let's say you're starting year 12 now, you might not know what to study because you maybe haven't even started your courses that much, but I'll show what to do and all of that stuff later down the line, okay? So hopefully you can build out a system, and you can resolve procrastination, okay? And again, be careful of urgency trapping if that's coming up, but this is going to be more related to our new topics that we're going to be talking about in a minute. So another thing for this, for what I was talking about with the sort of 2 hour a day, 1 hour a day towards your A levels thing. Again, if you're just starting out, 1 hour a day is fine. I would go, and if you can search up Brain FM on YouTube, they've got some videos which are like 30 minutes long. This is study music. So if you're listening to music, the research actually shows you don't want to be listening to music. If it has lyrics, you don't want to be listening to that. And if it's music that you really, really like and you enjoy listening to it, that's also going to distract you. So you either want to sit in silence, right? Maybe have your noise cancelling headphones on and study like that. Or I like using Brain FM. So if you search that up on YouTube, they've got some free playlists and free music there. They're like 30-minute bursts, and it's researched back music that is shown to help you focus a bit better. So it's definitely worth a try. They have their own website and stuff like that, but there's a subscription fee, so you don't necessarily have to do that. But either use that or sit in silence, okay? And that's a really good way. Sit in silence with a stopwatch running, or a timer running for your goal amount of time, okay? And if you can start to do this consistently, let's say every weekday or 7 days a week for a certain amount of time, and you believe that this is enough to get started, start doing that, okay? Now, if we're looking at the next thing that we have to do, so like I was mentioning, there is theory of learning how to learn, okay? And that's how Justin Sung, or people who are really good at studying, are able to study for a less amount of time and score much higher than everyone else, okay? And it's because they've learned the theory behind how to learn, okay? And this is almost like another A-level, it's almost like another topic subject. So you have to set aside a bit of time to learn the theory of how to learn, and throughout this course I'm going to be trying to teach you the theory, if that makes sense, on how to learn, and I'll give you the details in terms of how to do that. And then again, you've got things like Justin Sung's videos, which are going to be a really good resource for you as well, right? So you can ideally set aside a bit of time for theory on learning how to learn, knowing how to become an efficient learner, and improving your ability to learn things well. Okay. And then there's practice time, which is actually when you're going to be pushing towards your A-level goals. To start off with, you want to use the methods that you're comfortable with, the methods that you use for GCSEs. You know that they work. You want to use those methods to practice towards your A-levels. Whether you used Anki flashcards for your GCSEs, or maybe you just did loads of practice questions, or maybe you read from the textbook, things like that. Start off by doing that. But as you're learning theory, you're going to realize some of these techniques that you're using could be improved, and you're going to start implementing those techniques. But don't implement too much in one go. Do it slowly. Okay. So just have this sort of set aside time in terms of theory time and practice time. Practice time is going to be 80%, I'd say, and theory time is going to be around 20%. Okay. And again, we're going over all the fundamentals here. So I've pretty much gone over procrastination a bit, but there's some small tweaks that you can make that is just going to make things really easy. So again, if you're starting out from school right now, you should ideally go and you should know the exam board that you've got. Find the learning objectives that are structured there. Find some resource like a textbook or something like that, and you can start learning ahead of the sessions. Okay, ahead of your classes. And why? Because when you actually learn ahead of the class, you come with questions to the class. You're going to be so much more engaged during that 1 hour class. Okay, you're not going to get distracted and just lose focus, because you've learnt this topic, but you're still going to be curious about the topic. You're still going to have questions about it because you tried learning yourself. You're not going to know it to 100% degree. Maybe even write down questions that you might have, take them to the class and see if you can figure them out while sitting in the class, or ask them to the teacher. Okay, that's going to be useful. And if you have that, then make a list of the topics that you should be learning in your 1 hour blocks, your 2 hour blocks every day that we set out earlier. Okay, if you're going to study, put your phone on airplane mode and put it either in a drawer or in a different room. It's going to make it so much easier. Never going to go on any social media for that period. Okay, and if you're struggling with procrastination as well, as another tip is get started on something small, and you can leave it unfinished. As long as you're able to get started on it, this is going to make a big difference. Let's say it's getting late into the day, you don't want to sit down for your 1 hour of studying, which you would usually do. If it's really difficult, then just sit down for 20 minutes and get started on one of the tasks that you had set out. Because what's going to happen is either you're going to get into the flow and you're going to be able to do the rest of it, or you can leave it unfinished, and then tomorrow you're going to have it on your mind that I need to finish this task, and you're going to want to do it. Okay, so those are some tips on procrastination. Final thing that we want to go over in this video, at least, is task management. So I would definitely recommend pulling up a Google Calendar, okay, and starting to use that. So I'll just show you what that looks like. So what you'd want to do is, it's going to be completely empty, right? You can block out the time that you spend in school. If you go to the gym or you do other activities as well, you can block that out as well, and then figure out a time where you're going to slot in your studying. Okay, every single day or every weekday, whatever it is. Keep things organized, and you're not going to fall behind. It's going to be really important that you do something like this. Okay, so hopefully that intro video has helped you out. It's helped you understand what is possible in terms of studying. You don't have to grind 6 hours a day from the get-go if you're being proficient and efficient. Okay, so there's a lot of things for you to learn. The most important things and the basics are to have a habit in place, to not procrastinate, and to have a task management system to make sure that you're keeping on top of everything. Do not fall behind and you're at your A-levels. It's not the end of the world if you do, but if you don't, the amount of time you're going to save yourself by not falling behind and actually keeping in front of everything is amazing, right? And I assume you want to have as much free time as possible. So if you keep ahead of things and you're going to classes already having learnt the topics to an extent, you're just going to be that one student who barely studies at all and does better than everyone else, and that's what you want to aim for. Okay, But yeah, hopefully that makes sense.